Your landlord never asked what business name was on your lease, but the moment you turn that guest room into a money machine, the government suddenly wants a whole file on you. That is the wild part nobody warns you about when you start a short-term rental, because renting a room feels casual until you realize you are basically running a tiny hotel chain. So first thing, before you fall in love with a cute name like Sunset Stays or Cozy Cabana Co., you have to check if anyone else already claimed it. Every state has a business name database online, and if your dream name is taken, you either get creative or you get heartbroken. Once your name passes the vibe check and the availability check, you file what is called a DBA, which stands for Doing Business As. Think of a DBA like a stage name for your business, kind of like how Bruno Mars is not the name on his birth certificate, but everybody still knows who he is. Now here's where people get confused, because a DBA is not the same as forming an LLC. A DBA just lets you legally use a different name, while an LLC actually protects your personal stuff, like your car and your savings, if a guest ever sues you over a slippery bathtub. You usually file your DBA with your county clerk or your Secretary of State, and the fee is often somewhere between $10 and $100 depending on where you live. It is honestly cheaper than most people's grocery bill, yet it somehow feels like signing your name in blood. After the DBA gets approved, you will likely need to publish it in a local newspaper in some states, which sounds like something out of the year 1890, but it is still a real requirement in places like California and New York. It is basically the government's version of shouting your business name into the void just to make it official. Next comes the fun part, applying for an employer identification number from the federal government, even if you never plan to hire anyone. Think of an EIN like a social security number but for your business, and you will need it to open a business bank account. Speaking of bank accounts, do not skip this step, because mixing your rental income with your personal checking account is how accountants develop stress-related eye twitches. Keeping them separate protects you legally and also makes tax season about 10 times less painful. Now, you also want to check your city and county rules because some places require a short-term rental permit on top of your DBA, and skipping that step is basically asking for a fine in the mail. Cities like Austin and New Orleans have gotten strict, treating unregistered rentals kind of like uninvited guests at their own party. Depending on your state, you might also need a seller's permit or a transient occupancy tax registration, since guests are technically paying a tax similar to a hotel tax. It sounds boring, but ignoring it can mean owing back taxes that hit way harder than a bad guest review. Insurance companies also care about your business name, because if your policy says one name and your DBA says another, claims can get denied faster than a dating app match ghosting you. Matching your paperwork everywhere, from your bank to your insurance to your listing site, keeps everything from turning into a bureaucratic soap opera. A lot of new hosts assume registering a name is optional if they're just renting one property casually, but cities and states increasingly cross-reference short-term rental listings with business registries, so operating without one can lead to fines that erase months of profit in one swoop. Here's the plain truth nobody wants to hear. Paperwork is not exciting, but it is the seatbelt of your business. You do not notice it until the moment something goes wrong, and then you are extremely grateful it was there. So the real lesson is simple. Treat your rental like the actual business it is, not a side hustle you are winging. A little bit of registration now saves you from a mountain of stress later, and rational preparation always beats panic scrambling. If any of this made you curious about running your short-term rental the smart way, do you want to learn more about our company? Check out our links in the description.